Let's talk about Teams in this session. We're going to talk a bit about Copilot. And when we talk Copilot, it's not just one Copilot. Tom, what are your take on Copilot?
Yeah, so it is many Copilots. I'm just off the back of doing a session at Comms v Next where I actually mapped out all the different Copilots, which turned out to be way more work than I thought it would be, unsurprisingly. But yeah,
How many Copilots are there?
Well, so yeah, it depends how you count them. But the way to think about it actually is there are Copilots for a product. So like Microsoft 365 Copilot for Microsoft 365, i.e. it's for Microsoft 365. But then you've got Copilots in products like in Word, in Excel. And the ins are either part of a product or part of a SKU. And the fors are the add-ons. So you would buy them as additional products. So it might be Copilot in Windows or Copilot in Edge. Those are part of the product. But when it comes to the fors, it would be Copilot for Sales or Copilot for Service. Those are add-on products.
It already sounds a bit complicated.
It is, and honestly, Microsoft are moving incredibly fast with this. So I think they're trying to find where the value is, where the market fit is, and I commend them for being fast moving because it's a fast moving space. But it can also be confusing for customers because, for example, I have a few enterprise customers where they've deployed Copilot, and I'm like, well, hang on, GitHub Copilot, like Copilot with commercial data protection. M365 Copilot, and they don't even know the answer. They're just like, oh, we did Copilot. I'm like, what? And it turns out they've done the initial, the web-based Copilot with commercial data protection, but they haven't got into the more advanced Copilot for Sales, Copilot for Service, Copilot for M365. So it's a fun space to be in at the moment because it's just so exciting, but it is complicated.
And it's going fast.
Definitely.
I mean, kind of like every new week and a new Copilot.
Yeah, I think it will converge at some point because I think it's everything is going to have AI in it, and it all at the moment we as an industry and Microsoft, we're all excited about the capabilities, but at some point it's like saying something has an app or something works on mobile or something is internet like obviously, right? Obviously I can use it on a mobile. Obviously it works on the internet. I think AI will get like that. I think it's going to be a long journey, but I think we'll just come to expect AI in all of our tools.
Yeah.
It's definitely.
I mean, I remember first time before the launch, I asked my IT department for a Copilot license, and the answer back was, "What is that? What is it for?" So even in the IT company was not really aware of what Copilot was. So I was just texting him once again and say, "Okay, I will return when the SKU is actually available." And it took a while, but I finally got it.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I feel like AI has hit the larger world now with ChatGPT and obviously what Google are doing, what Anthropic are doing. But there are still plenty of people that are just doing their day job that haven't really thought about how it could improve their lives yet.
And I don't think we make it easier because, I mean, when we are talking about, we just say Copilot. And I mean, in this forum, or everybody around this team or M365, Copilot is M365 Copilot, and we don't say M365 Copilot, we just call it Copilot because everybody knows internally. So, I mean, for the end users, it's even more complicated, or for the IT administrator who doesn't have all this focus on Teams and so on. I mean, Copilot, is that the security one we just work with and so on? I mean, so we are not helping the industry with us talking about Copilot instead of saying M365 Copilot.
No, we're definitely not.
And now there's a button even on the laptops, right? So what's that? Is bringing it out to a lot of people, and they actually don't know what it is yet because the video is a glimpse of different stuff that it might give you an idea of how to work it, but you need to prompt it the right way, and you need to adopt it in the right way in the company. Who is benefiting from it? Who should have it as well, right? So it's because it also comes with a cost. So
Yeah, I think you touched on a really important point there. Is it's not a product you just buy and it just works. As much as the marketing makes it look magical, it needs to be driven. The customers need training and adoption, and there's definitely a very real challenge that the marketing has been amazing, but we're definitely into day two in a lot of customers now, and they've done the clever tricks, and now they're back to business as usual. If they don't make it part of their habit, if they don't understand how to drive it, they don't understand where the value is, there is a kind of risk of lack of adoption.
Yeah. And how do you see that adoption goes? Yeah, because I mean, I talked with a Microsoft representative here a couple of days ago, and he was saying like, for the first, we don't do a 30 days trial. It doesn't make any sense because you need at least 100 days, and you need a lot of people for testing it, for having processes changed, for again work processes and so on. So, what are your take on that? What do you see companies doing, and what do you see somebody actually kind of lose track of Copilot and say, hey, yeah it was just a license?
I've seen people do it well and badly, depending on how you want to frame that, as in got adoption, didn't get adoption. And I think the things that have worked badly are they bought their 300 seats back when that was the thing to do, and they would just scatter them out to anybody who asked. So there was no real plan. It was just like, oh, we're going to try it out, see what they think. The ones that have done well have picked a business unit, a team, a country, and said, we are committing to helping you drive value out of this tool. And I think the big thing is people learn from people as well. So if you can get an entire project or business unit using it, their peers will share notes, help each other. If one person has it, it's like, oh, well, here's what I can do. I get stuck. I've got nobody to ask. I kind of drift away. I'd say the only exception I see is the meeting summaries, either with Intelligent Meeting Recap with Premium and or Copilot. That's something that most people instantly get value out of because it's one button to generate a summary. But when you're getting into how you can use it to really drive and prompt, I'm obviously IT pro, kind of technical. Even I find I'm not making as much use of it as I could without constantly thinking, okay, I'm going to take some time to work out what the right prompt is here because I know it will save me time in the long term.
I see the battle of the meeting now because, I mean, let's face it, we have one big challenge here in Copilot is that if you're having a meeting in Teams, you need to have it in your own tenant for Copilot to work. So, I mean,
it's a real genuine. That's genuinely happening now. We do so. Part of Empowering Cloud is we do a change service where we help enterprises with change, and we always like to do the meetings on our tenant so we can get the meeting notes. And it happened the other week. The customer's like, "Oh, can we flip all the meetings to ours because we want the notes?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay. Like you're the customer, sure."
Yeah. And in the beginning, it was okay, nice. Share your screen and show us what it can do. And now we just get a decline on meeting. Invites and just reverse it the other way around. So that's kind of an interesting, So people are actually using that. That must be the conclusion on it.
But when Copilot also is coming to whiteboarding, etc., then there will be some more to it, right? So, but still, it needs to have some adoption on the side because just regular whiteboarding in Teams, not that many people are using it actually because it also needs adoption. So, all the feature there is today also needs adoption, and are people great at it? Some are, some aren't. The COVID part made us realize we need to use it. We need to use Teams in this way and this way. And now we're bringing Copilot. We don't have anything that's disrupting our habits, which is the difficult part to change, right? So it's the habits of how we're actually working that needs to be changed here. And Copilot can do everything, but just start in small steps. We had 6 weeks each. So whoever scribes up, wrote to the person who got the license. And in those 6 weeks, we need to fill out a lot of documents, how we're using it, how we were having it, and afterwards we could apply for it. So it's how you have your take on it, right?
Yeah, so, I mean that's interesting in a scenario where you're obviously a very technical company and people are clamoring for it, so they're prepared to kind of work for it. In a lot of organizations, it's the real line of business, the real business people are not. So you're having to actually educate them on how to get value out of it.
Yeah, and I also think like you said before, Tommy, you need to push yourself to actively go and use it. Otherwise, you don't learn what it actually can do for you. So when I started using Copilot, I was like, yeah, I did the same thing that Microsoft presented, like the meeting recap and push the button in the meetings. But what I'm actually using it for now is something completely different. So most of my time is more like when I sit in a meeting with some customers and they ask me a question that I can't answer right away, I go to my Copilot and try to ask that question. And I would say most of the times it actually do give me an answer that I can use. I know I need to check everything, but then I look at the notes and the files that it actually looks into, and then I can actually give them an answer straight away instead of waiting for it. Or the other day I needed to find a colleague in another country, but I didn't know the guy. Then I asked who is actually working on the technical side in this country, and then it gave me a name, so I have something to start with.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I do quite a lot is I try and have it on in all my meetings now, and things like someone will mention the product owner or something way up front, and if you miss it, you can just be who was the product owner for Exchange, and most of the time it will get you there. It's pretty impressive like that.
Yeah, definitely. Are we missing any questions or something like that? That's also powerful. If you're sitting and chatting a lot of people are talking and so on, and the meeting has been, I don't know, 1.5 hours, something like that. It's just, I used to say, hey, have we missed any questions or any unsolved things or anything like that? That's also helpful.
Yeah, but the thing is, you need to record the meeting. How does it work with voice? Do you need to record the voice call as well? And how do you tell a person when you're on the phone, you're being recorded? Will you have the statement up front?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. Is at the moment, if you're on a PSDN call and you kick Copilot, it actually audibly tells the other participant this call is being recorded. Now, technically, it doesn't need to be recorded. It just needs to be transcribed. So it's kind of a slightly misnamed prompt. If you're on Teams visually, the remote attendees will get a banner. But we haven't culturally agreed what the president is there. Like, are we supposed to ask first? Are we supposed, like, when you're recording a call, generally you would say, does everybody mind if I record this?
Yes.
I think with AI, it's going to be tough because eventually this is just going to be a de facto. Of course, we're talking online. Of course, there's an AI in the mix. But right now, there's a cultural thing we have to agree on. Are we asking permission? Are we on by default, setting it off? I don't know what the answer is.
By country to country.
Country by country.
Totally.
Yeah. And we saw that when we began on compliance recording.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't ask if I need. I'll just push the transcription, and then they will get notified. So I had a call the other day with Chile, and I'm not good at Spanish at all. But even though it was translated, it was quite fun that I could do the transcription and then translate it into English. So I kind of had an idea of what they were talking about internally, and after that. When we had the meeting, I kind of said that, okay, I get most of it, or at least an idea what you're talking about because I have the transcription on. And they were like, oh, that was why the banner came up. They had no idea what it actually meant.
Yeah. Again, not everybody understands. And you're right about different countries, different cultures. Definitely in Europe, we're more sensitive. In certain countries in Europe, we're more sensitive still to where's it being stored? Where's it being processed? So a lot to work out. I think Microsoft are doing a lot around policies. If you look at the roadmap around, for example, recording, there's a policy coming in where people have to opt in. And if they don't opt in, they can't say anything in the meeting until they do. So
that's an awesome one. We're actually using that, my company. We have forced that one into everybody that you have to accept that, again, your voice is being recorded with CU video fee and so on. And our feedback has been, okay, we had one saying, why do we do that? And when we talk with customers saying, hey, why do we actually do that? Everybody accepted it. We were a little kind of surprised in the beginning, how will that go? But so far it really went well when we implemented it.
Yeah, I think a lot of legal companies, that's going to become the default, is opt-in on each case just to cover the bases.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. And it's like when you call someone and they ask, can you record it and use for training? I would always, feel free. I don't have anything to hide, but I guess it will be different depending on what you work with, of course.
Yeah. And then like people sometimes change their behavior when meetings are recorded as well. That does affect people, so that's interesting as well.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of fun because that actually reminds me of when I go into my office, I have several cameras pointing at me, but I don't think about it. And other people think about, whoa, what are all those cameras and who are looking at you? And I don't think about it anymore because I'm working it with it so many years.
Totally. I think people, I think IT people, or certain people in UC generally, we're very used to video first. We're very used to being recorded. Like I do a lot of recording when I'm at shows and things. And it's like, again, you kind of forget sometimes that people are like, oh, wait, you're going to record this? Like I need to, it's you get used to it, don't you? I think.
Yeah. Okay, we are very close to the 15-minute mark, but thanks a lot for watching out there. Let's talk about Teams, and thanks for Tom joining us.
No, thanks for having me. Great to be on the show. Nice to talk Copilot. Thanks.